Hi, myself Atul. Welcome to Code Sickness, and today what we're going to do is a little peculiar. What we're going to do is write a code in which there are no numbers, but we are going to print numbers from 1 to 100. We are going to be doing this in Java. So, the problem here is that we don't know how to get the numbers and how to get them printed on the console. Right. But what approach we have came up with is we are going to convert characters, characters ASCII value to be specific. The ASCII value will be used to basically allocate the numbers, and then they will be manipulated in a way so that the number is printed. So what we're going to do now is I'm just gonna start the code. So if you're not familiar with Java, you have to create a class first, and that class has to be of the name of the file, the Java file. So let's just start public. Yeah, the class needs to be in public because the compiler needs to see it in the domain of public. Only then will it execute that program. Alright, so public class, and then here it is REC, and then we'll continue. So after we have created the public class, now we'll create the main function through which the execution will start. The compiler always does call the main function to execute the execution. So we have public static void main, and then in main we write string args. So yeah, I have thrown out a bunch of words here. So what this basically says is that this function, it is in public domain, it is static, that means it will never change. It is void, that means the return of this function, that is what this function if called will return is void, and the name of the function is main. And the parameter here is string args, which is a string of arguments which are passed to the main function. These don't have to be anything, but if you want, you can add them. So this is the basic syntax, and now we get to the code. So what we are going to do is we are going to basically use implicit conversion. What is implicit conversion? You don't have to explicitly specify that this thing has to be converted into this thing. Like, let's take an example. Like, I have a letter A and I have to convert it to its ASCII value, right? So either I can assign it to a character value and then change it using an explicit function, which is changing it this with this char. This is an explicit function. I mean, not function, it is an explicit definer, a tag which defines that this needs to be changed into a character value. But what we are going to do is implicit, which is the compiler automatically senses that yeah, this value needs to be changed into a particular other value which is integer, and that's what we're going to do. So first, to print numbers from 1 to 100, we will have to use a for loop. A for loop is basically a loop in which a single statement or maybe a number of statements are executed again and again until the loop stops. So it has some conditions through which it will start, and it will keep on incrementing the value, which is its iterator. And now we will go for it. Now we have for loop. So the for syntax is you use for keyword, and then we have int I. We usually use I. You can use any variable here. We just usually use I. So we have defined I as an int, and now we will define the range. So I is the stopping condition. So what is the stopping condition? I is less than something, right? So this is the stopping condition, and also we have to define a value for I as initial value. So what is the initial value? Like, what do you think it is? It's 1, right? Because you have to start from 1 and we have to go till 100. So what the initial value is 1. So what we are going to do is a little bit tricky, right? You can't write a number 1 here because that will beat the whole adventure of this thing. That is that we have to code this whole thing without using any numbers in the code, right? So what we will do is we will just write a character, any character actually. You can write A, B, C, any character. I'll use E because I'm going to use it as another value here. So what the ASCII value of E is, it is 101, alright? And it is very important because for defining this ending condition, I'm going to use it. So E here, in this case, I'm defining the initial value. So just E is 101. So that won't work now. Because we want 1, we will just divide it by E. So now we have 1, right? Because anything divided by the same thing is 1. So here we are, it is 1. And now there is the stopping condition. Now the stopping condition is that I should be less than E. Okay, it's simple as that, right? So if I is less than E, that means it is less than 1 over. That is, it will, as soon as it detects that I has increased the value of 100, it will stop. So 101 will not be printed. So we will go from 1 to 101, but excluding 101. And at last we have to, if you notice, I have been using semicolons here. So these semicolons are used to spread these values: the initial condition, the breaking condition, and the increment or decrement. So what is the increment and decrement? Increment or decrement is we giving what we have to do with this value, like we giving what is going to be done for the whole process of for loop to the value of I. So we are going to increment it. So we are going to write I plus plus, which is auto increment plus 1, and it is a post increment as well. So it will increment after the loop has run. So now, so that means it will consider the initial value as well. So for now, we just print this value. So to print any value on the console, you have to use this function, which is in system dot out. So in system package there is an out class in which we have a function which is print. Okay, so print, or you can use println as well. So now we have to print the value, right? So what is the value that we used? If you remember, it was I, right? Because I is going to be updating, so we have to print the value of I here. So let's print I, and then I think we are done for the day. So this is our code, and these are the values that we have used, and you can notice that there are no number values in the whole code. Alright, so let me just run this code. Alright, so now we have the output, that is all the values from 1 to 100. Okay, that's all for today. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel, and also if you like this video, please consider liking and sharing it. If you have any queries, please leave them down below. Thank you.